If you're here, welcome back for part 2 of how we got Antrim House. So I emailed the agent on January 26th. We viewed the house 2 days later. When we got to the house, we met one of the previous owners and I felt we had a connection. And as soon as we stepped over that threshold, we were like, it looked even better than the pictures.
This is a video I took of the house from our very first viewing, and as you can see from the way I'm filming, I was already totally in love with this space, and watching it back brings me so much nostalgia because I rewatched these videos countless times a day back and just daydream about this house. I was just totally in love. Can we talk about the hallway? Oh my gosh, this moment is perfection. I want to recreate it somehow.
The home was decorated like a movie set or like an antique store. Every inch of the walls was covered in beautiful old antiques. Every room was filled and staged in a beautiful way. You could see they had put so much love into this home. And then we hit the garden. Link to the garden video because we all know it's everything. We now had qualified for a mortgage. So we did some finagling and we figured out how we would be able to afford our dream home. And we emailed the agent on the 30th with our offer. The estate agent's email back said, "Good morning, you two. Absolutely thrilled that you are making an offer on Antrim House because if there were ever perfect people for a perfect place, it's you." And maybe 2 hours passed and they accepted it. The owner said something to the effect of all the people who viewed the house, when I saw those two walk through the door, I knew it was for them. Makes me emotional. I'm like telling you this story while I'm on the deck. Like, look. I just can't believe the journey. I just can't. Offer accepted, begin phase 5, sealing the deal. This is a big one. So there's something in the UK called stamp duty tax. It's a tax that you have to pay if you're a second home buyer. If you're a first time buyer, you don't have to pay it. Now, we thought we're first time buyers in the UK, we don't have to pay. And that is also what we were told. Turns out that although the mortgage lenders will not count your income from the States towards your mortgage, they will count any assets that you have in the state against your mortgage. So because we owned a rental property in America, we had to pay the stamp duty tax. When we found this out, our hearts just sank. We thought we'd lost the house. We're already at a stretch, but it was just too tight and there was nothing we could do. We found that out on a Friday night and we had sent the offer on the Thursday. We spent that weekend thinking that we'd lost it because we couldn't afford this stamp duty tax, which was over $20,000. Monday came around and we'd mulled it over the weekend, and as a last ditch effort, I thought, I'm going to email the sellers and explain the situation and see if there is any way they'd be able to come down on their price and meet us halfway so that we can do this. They came back and said, "We're disappointed to hear that, obviously, but sure." And they came down. What? It just felt so crazy. So you know how like a roller coaster, there's like some loops? That was our first loop. The next thing we had to do was get a survey. The sellers were reticent to allow us to conduct one. The estate agent called us and said, "I have some bad news. The sellers might back out. They're going to take the weekend to think about this survey." Another weekend went by where Philip and I were on pins and needles, scared that this was going to fall through. The Monday came and the sellers said, "We will allow this so long as they don't move any furniture," which I can totally understand. Their house was so beautifully staged and immaculate. Needless to say, we were relieved when they finally agreed to it. The mortgage lender scheduled a surveyor to come out. We had no idea who this person was. I heard all of this secondhand because I was not present for the survey, but what I heard was that the surveyor was glowing. She said that as far as old homes go, it was in exceptional condition and she was praising it, and this filled the sellers with confidence that everything was all good. Therefore, when the surveyor came back with her report of all of her findings, and in the home value it said 0, and that she was requiring a specialist damp and timber survey, you can imagine how upsetting it was for the sellers to hear this news. Philip and I saw the report and said, "Oh, she's just putting the value at 0 until the timber and damp survey confirms that what she suspects is correct." That's how we took it. But the sellers didn't take it that way. They were really, really upset. Understandably so, after having such a positive interaction and then getting what appeared to be really negative news on the report. So yet again, we were back to the sellers are going to back out. They took time to think about it. Eventually, after a lot of back and forth, the sellers agreed to have the specialist survey and we set the date. Up until this point, Philip and I had only seen the house at our first viewing, and we'd tried to come back and see it, and the sellers had some scheduling conflicts that meant that they had to cancel 2 or 3 different times. We were just crossing our fingers that no other loops on the roller coaster would come around and that it would happen as it should. I go to work that morning. I'm just so excited. We're that much closer to getting this done, getting it over the line. The survey was meant to happen at 11 o'clock, and at 9:45, I get a call from my real estate agent, and my heart sinks. And she says, but he's canceled the survey and they've backed out of the sale. I tried to keep my composure at work. Needless to say, when I heard this, I felt so out of control and like there was nothing I could do. The estate agent took the property offline and it was dead in the water, and we lost it. We lost Antrim House. I just remember that day being like on the verge of tears. And so I was just keeping it together till I could finish my work day. And I just thought, we have come so far. I have tried everything to build a life in this country. What do I have to lose? I knew that the seller worked in antiques, and I knew the antique store where he worked. I raced home. I had some daffodils in a vase. I put a little bow around them. As soon as I started walking up the sidewalk towards his shop, I just kept thinking, what am I doing? What am I gonna say? What if he yells at me? What if he says, how dare you visit me at my place of work? What if he says, I don't wanna see you? What if he's not there? What if he hides? I didn't know what I was gonna do. It was a sunny day. I get to the storefront of his store, and he stepped out of the door onto the sidewalk to take in the sun, and he turned and saw me. Now, bear in mind, I hadn't seen him since our very first viewing of the home, which at this point was maybe 3 months before. And he looked at me and I said his name and said, it's me, Emily with Antrim House. And his face just fell, and I could see that he felt caught out. And I just extended the flowers and said, I know you're going through something, and I just wanted to touch base and just say hi, and I hope you're doing okay. And to his credit, he stayed out there on the sidewalk and chatted with me and was so open with me and shared with me his experience and his side of the story. And then we talked about other things, and I didn't want him to feel under pressure. And he turns to me and he goes, do you still want the survey? And I said, well, it's the bank that wants it. And he said, okay, well, you can have it. And obviously my heart was like beating, just felt so precarious, and I was really putting myself out there. And I said, I think it would be best if y'all would arrange to have the survey done whenever it suits you. And he said, let's call him right now. And I was there for that whole conversation, just kind of browsing the antique store while the seller and the surveyor were arranging a date that worked for them. And the seller and I exchanged numbers and began texting. And from that point on, everything took a shift for the positive. No more unexpected turns or drops. So after the survey was done, we signed the papers. A few weeks went by, and then on April 30th, we went into the estate agent's office, picked up the keys, and on May 5th, we moved into Antrim House. Now we are on phase 6. The phase at which you meet me now. Begin Antrim House diaries. So yeah, we opened the door to the house on May 5th, and the house was bare and empty, and my heart done said, oh shoot, we got a road ahead of us now. What am I gonna do? Now I'm going, okay, we've renovated a house before. I have so many ideas for this place, and I can't wait to share them with you. For instance, let me show you. There's Antrim House, and these are the old stables in here. And I have a dream of making this a greenhouse. Imagine keeping all of this beautiful, beautiful brick and just having long bifold doors here, a window in there, glass peaked roof, and a wood-burning stove in the center. A place where you can enjoy the outdoors year-round. Because as you know, in Ireland, it rains all the time.
Here are a couple of pictures that capture the vision and feeling of what I want to do.
So that's just one of my dreams. That's the backstory of how we got to where we are. And again, I just can't say thank you enough for being here, for being a part of this journey. I'm learning. I haven't done this before. I've been off social media for many, many years now, and I'm really enjoying making videos and sharing my thoughts. If there's anything you want to see, let me know. Love you guys, and thanks for listening.